Oh my
All
gosh.
right. That was intense. I hate it when it does that.
This video is
All right.
being recorded.
It
Okay.
is, and it's going to go on the internet
Oh my God.
for tens of people to see.
Hello,
It's
10.
early. 10 if I'm lucky.
Ooh, maybe I can get you 12.
Ooh, I would love that. All right. Well, thank you for taking the time to struggle for 40 minutes to figure
I'm
this out.
so sorry.
No, it's okay. It's fun. We're having a good time.
Yes.
Thank
All
you for
part of the
taking the
process.
time to come on. Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad we finally got it worked out and figured out.
Ooh, a kitty
Um,
butt.
yeah. Bentley, the split in a bottle mascot back there.
Yes,
Yeah. He'll be up here very soon. As soon as he realizes that I'm over here, he's gonna come over here as well.
as he should be.
Yes. Okay, so you are the first person that's really not in the entertainment world that I get to talk to on this show. And I'm so
Yes, that's
excited about
exciting.
that. I'm excited about talking about your new business venture, Model Citizen P.I, and a couple of the things that have gotten you to here. So
Yeah.
I guess I don't really know the full story of why you got into this industry in the first place. I kind of just knew you 12 years ago, and then we didn't really talk that much. And then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
you were working on getting wrongfully incarcerated people out of prison. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
it kind of happened. It kind of fell into my lap actually. So I was working for a broadcasting company in Madison Heights. Um, and we did a lot of live shots, so I was like very in the news world. So we were doing live shots and look at mascot here.
that's the
Um
trailer right there, that 30 seconds.
so we did a lot of live shots and what's called a satellite media tour, which was we would have a guest in the studio and we would hit every morning show from New York to LA. So it was like every like half hour you would do the same segment for every news station
Oh,
across the
wow.
country. So a lot of like live TV. And what had happened was a local investigative reporter, Bill Proctor, he kind of he would frequent the broadcasting company that I worked at. He was friends with the owner. So he was around and I just got introduced to him. And eventually he had hired the company I was working for to kind of create a new hip website or like media blitz to kind of inform the public about wrongful convictions because that's what he was doing. So through that, me and a good friend of mine, Erica Lynn Smith, she helped me create what is now Seeking Justice, which is Bill's kind of voice box to the public. Yeah.
Nice. And then
So
I've got
I had
got
no
the
experience in the
seeking
justice system at
justice
all.
thing right there.
Yes.
Hiding in the background of the set.
Easter egg, I spy. Um, I had no experience. I was just someone who, like many people, are interested in true crime and kind of obsessed with that genre of film and TV and just really interested in crime in general. And when I know it sounds so like ignorant almost, but when I became aware of wrongful convictions, because, 10 years ago, they weren't really in the public's eye as much as they are now. I think, Making a Murderer or the Serial podcast that had came out, that was really like
Yeah.
the first two big media coverage of a wrongful conviction case or
Hmm.
claim. So I think that had just come out, so was made aware of wrongful convictions and how often they happen. So meeting him was kind of serendipitous at that time, and I was more than happy to work with him.
While it's right here, and since you just said it, is there a statistic on roughly like how many convictions are wrong? Like,
Yeah, so 1 in 4 people on death row is innocent. So if you do the math downwards, that's, like 25%.
yeah. Is there like a solid number on how many people are on death row right now? Because I know we don't use the death penalty super often
Yeah.
anymore, but I know, isn't it like in the mid hundreds, like between 100 and 1,000, like four or five, I think.
I would actually have to pull the stats because they change so often. And you're right, they for some reason when they do statistics on wrongful convictions, they only use death row cases. So you kind of have to like broaden that out in your head. Well, if 1 in 4 on death
Right.
row is innocent, like how does that trickle down? And it's
Yeah.
it's honestly like 400,000 people probably like are wrongfully convicted out of the
And then
but I will
there's,
get you actual stats on that because they do change
yeah.
so often.
Yeah, I would love to, and then I can incorporate them into the like information
Yes,
that people
please,
can read
because
with the episode.
and that is one thing that I am passionate about is creating more statistics on wrongful convictions because those can be pulled in legal cases as evidence if they
Right.
were statistical analysis. So if I wish I had more numbers for you, but it's like almost impossible to
Right.
provide them because no one cares to provide them.
Yeah. It's it's upsetting to see because I hear about these cases and these prosecuting attorneys and these police officers and detectives, they just really, it seems they care about just finding a person that did the crime as
Yeah.
opposed to the person that did the crime and finding someone
Yeah.
responsible and closing the case.
Yeah, they just it is really honestly and so this is a statistic that has recently changed since I've gotten involved because when I started, the number one reason wrongful convictions happened was witness misidentification. So someone just pointing to the wrong person, which it happens when you're under stress. We all know that you make mistakes.
Yeah.
You misremember things and people are influenced by what other people say. So that used to be the number one reason. And now the statistics is police misconduct is the number
Yeah.
one reason why they happen, whether it be they're not doing thorough investigations or if they are straight up doing something misconduct related, like purposefully. So whether it be with malicious intent or not, the police are where the problem is.
Right. Do you have interaction with officers with the kind of work that you do ever?
Yes. So sometimes I have to interview police on what they did in their
Yeah.
investigation.
What
And
what's your experience been like? Do they seem like apathetic, not interested in helping someone who's been convicted, or have you had a generally positive experience where they're like, "Oh yeah, I mean, if we messed up, let's get that guy or girl out."
no, it's very hard to even get anything out of them because they're basically gonna hit me with I can't talk to you. This is an active case, or where
Right.
most of the time what I'm doing is like they're under investigation themselves, so it's an active case and they can't say anything because it will hinder their investigation. Because a lot of my clients end up after they're exonerated, they sue the police department that wronged them. So a lot of times the police do not want to speak to us willingly. Um,
That's incredibly frustrating.
yes. Um, but other times they get it. Sometimes the people that are wrongfully convicted are in and out of the system before and after their conviction, whether it be wrong or not. So sometimes it's like they are rolling their eyes, are like, oh, we got to talk about this guy again or whatever.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's kind of just like, that's their job. It's their day to day. So it's like an eye roll to them, I guess.
Right. So when you and Bill started working together, because I believe you said, I think I saw recently, and by recently I mean the last couple of years, that you had upgraded your position within his organization to full time.
Yeah.
So
So
you, yeah, go ahead.
sorry to cut. No. So he is on his path to retirement. And, this is a heavy burden to carry through your retirement. And I think he's creating a path for me. So it's a transition period right now. So In 2022, he asked me to be his business partner. So I am now a partner at his private investigation firm. And then with hopes of me getting my own license and then starting my own company, which I told you is going to be called Model Citizen. And
There's a website
that's,
already.
yes, Model Citizen
Check it out.
P.I. I'll give you all the info. It's still under construction, but we're right there. It's about to launch. So the goal with that is to kind of cultivate a community of people who are tapping into their inner detective and prioritizing their personal safety and like really focus on wrongful conviction prevention
Hmm.
because if we're all individually doing what we can, then we create a community that's doing better overall.
Right.
So whether it be workshops like how to change your tire with long nails or like how teaching femmes and thems how to interact with police, and then just making sure that we're protecting each other, things to notice, how to be a good witness, like if you see a crime happening, like things like that. So
Yeah. Is there anything that you've learned from doing this for a long time that are just like maybe blanket advice for dealing with police, for example, or like identifying someone in a situation? Is there something that maybe seems obvious, but if you've never done it before, like kind of like stop, drop, and roll. None of us have been in a fire, thank God, but
right.
if no
Hopefully,
one
yes.
told, yeah, but if no one
But we know
told
what to do.
us, right, we know that smoke rises and the cleanest air is going to be at the bottom because they taught us that in grade school. But like, no one ever came through first grade, second grade and was like, hey, when you need to talk to a police officer or when you're getting mugged and you're going to eventually have to describe this person, no
Sure.
one taught us like, you know, look at height, look for scars, look for tattoos, look for,
Yeah.
this like, and I don't even know if those are correct, but like, is there anything like blanket advice that someone should maybe have in the back of their mind? God forbid they encounter a situation like this.
So for your first part of the question was interacting with the police, and I hate
Yeah.
offering advice that requires you to buy something, but one thing that you can do as a driver if you have a driver's license and you have a car and you're driving around, one thing that you can do to protect yourself always is just get a dash cam.
Hmm.
So you have a camera on, and if you are interacting, you're getting pulled over, it's just very easy. Hey, this is being recording. I have a dash cam.
Yeah.
So police officers have to turn on their body cams. We forget that. Like they're not
Yeah.
rolling all the time. So what we can
And
do
they
to
often
counteract
don't.
that is have one ourselves. I'm turning
Yeah.
mine on now too. And
Yeah.
it's a little less threatening than the phone
Right.
because as soon as they see a phone out, I feel like the police officer is going to be on edge.
Hmm.
And again, I hate saying like offering advice because it's really the police officers that need to be listening to me and like taking advice on how to interact with civilians.
Hmm.
Um, but as a civilian, I think to protect yourself, that's like one of the easiest things you can do is to buy a dash cam. They're not very expensive, but to
Yeah.
hook them up and just have one ready to go, just in case.
Yeah. I
I have
mean,
a cute little Hello Kitty one, so.
uh, that sounds great. I don't have a car, but I still want a Hello Kitty dash cam,
Yeah, exactly.
right? And then, I watch a lot of dash cam videos and police interaction videos on YouTube. It seems like the phone situation, it always escalates, and it's
Yes,
not on the civilian to de-escalate the situation. That is the police
exactly.
officer's job. But the dash cam already being going, and then I was taught, have your hands just like resting on the steering wheel so that they
Exactly.
know you're not doing anything. Because
But, I
in
hate
the
saying that
yeah,
because I've seen so many videos where the man gets shot with his hands on the steering wheel. So
right,
I I really don't want to give any advice about like what to do or how to
right,
interact. Like obviously it's don't be threatening, but like it is like you said, the police officer's job to not be threatening. Like
right. And I mean, if you're up there like this,
right.
and you've got three or five. I've seen one where guy was talking to the male officer and like they're disagreeing. He's like, "What did you pull me over for?" And he's asking for ID. He's like, "You haven't told me what crime I've committed, whatever." And then his partner just automatically pulls a gun. His hands are still up there. And, there's always the little text at the very end of the video, like, officer so and so was suspended with pay for 1 week
Right.
or
Holding
something
them
like that.
accountable is the
Yeah.
problem.
Right.
Yeah, it's like we can sit here and talk about how to be the perfect civilian, which is what my company would be doing. Model citizen. I want everyone to be a model citizen. But what does that mean living in America, a crime obsessed country where women can't walk to their cars without holding their keys between their hand,
Right.
where black men are wrongfully convicted 7 times more likely to be wrongfully convicted than a white person. We live in a country where police are never held accountable for killing civilians. So, like I said, I want everyone to be doing what they can, but that is ultimately to cultivate a community that is not scared of police officers and where police officers are not scared of the community because it works both ways.
Right.
So, just minimizing interaction with police. So my
Yeah.
my goal is to be like you never have to interact with a police officer because that reduces the risk to zero,
Right.
correct? Of being wrongfully convicted or etc. Worse.
With uh ooh, we might need to leave and come back because I'm seeing a 1.5 minute timer on my
Fair.
Zoom. Um,
That's fine.
but I'll ask, and then maybe it's a quick answer. I don't know.
If
Um,
not, I'll think about it.
not holding police officers accountable, a big thing with qualified immunity has been in the news cycle, not as much in 2024, but really big in 2021, 2022 with the Derek Chauvin case and subsequent cases. It seems like that was being talked about a lot. Um, I understand the idea behind qualified immunity, but there also seems to be an abuse of power that comes with it.
Right.
If you if you had the power to fix it and or change it, would you get rid of it completely? Would you amend it? What would you change, or would you not change it at all? I doubt that's the answer, but giving you all of the options.
Yes.
Um, think about that. I'm gonna put another link in your inbox and we will come back and we will
Okay.
pick up there in about 30 seconds.
Sounds good. Here we
Yeah,
go
I did
again.
not want to jump through those hoops again. Okay,
Okay.
cool. Okay, so
Your
qualified
question
immunity.
was how to
Obviously,
hold
you don't want to
police
change any of
accountable.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I appreciate like wanting to change the police and the conversation about that. I think it's ongoing because there's so many things that could happen. Some people think that there shouldn't be police, which, like let's talk about it. I personally, I'm not running for president. I'm not running for Senate or governor or anything like that. I'm really just trying to give people the tools so that they can navigate the world we live in.
Mhm.
Because the world we live in, 1 in 4 people are wrongfully convicted.
Right.
So I think, as most of the issues of the world are very large for one individual to take on, and I feel like we as a society burden ourselves like that. But I'm trying to empower people to do little things daily so they feel like they are making a change because they are. Change happens on a small scale first.
Yeah.
So if we create a community that doesn't allow wrongful convictions to happen, that's how we hold the police accountable. That doesn't happen overnight, doesn't happen in 5 years. It
Yeah.
happens centuries. That's how
Right.
we got here in the first place. So we have to work backwards in a way.
Nice.
Sorry to throw that question right back at you.
No, no, no. I love it.
Not an answer.
No, that's absolutely an answer. Um, It's an answer I wasn't prepared for, which is why I love doing this podcast because I don't want to know all of the answers. If I know all the answers, then I'm not learning anything.
Exactly.
Um,
It's perfect.
so with Model Citizen PI,
Yes.
so do you need to get your license first before that can officially launch?
The investigation part of it. Yes.
What are the steps to getting that license?
Right now, I have everything ready to go. I just have to send the state of Michigan some money, which is always the problem.
Yeah.
And then see what they say.
Okay. So what were the steps then? Like, are there
Um,
courses? Are there
so no, you
requirements?
you actually have to either be educated in some sort of criminal justice background, or as Bill was able to get his through his investigative reporter background, or you have to mentor under an investigator for a certain amount of hours. And I have been doing that for 8 years, so I think that qualifies me.
Absolutely.
And then you need letters of recommendation, like character letters. So,
Okay. How
and then
many?
there's
Three.
probably a huge background check that they do. But I work for a casino right now, so I've already had to go through a pretty rigorous background check.
Yeah. Nice. When do you think you're going to be up and running? Like ideally.
I'm giving myself till May to like actually launch. So it's gonna be a soft launch from now till May, just beta testing things. I have a drop ship supplier for some of the items I'm gonna be selling. So just working out the kinks with that. A big part of this store is also going to be like crime fashion. Um, I know
I
the
checked
hot
out the
trend
link
right now.
already. Yeah.
Yeah, the hot trend right now is like mob wife fashion, like, but really like anything like that, detective fashion. I'm wearing Rescue Rangers right now, stuff
Yes.
like that.
I love that.
Anything um that exemplifies how crime obsessed this country is. Like we've incorporated it into our fashion. I want to like I want to show off all of those things, like we live in a country where we used to like idolize bank robbers. Like we dressed
Oh
up like
yeah.
them. Like the whole 20s was like a salute to crime.
Hmm.
We just wanted to be mobsters,
There was a
all of it.
fashion that the bank robbers had.
Yes,
Like, and it
exactly.
was and it was like the whole John Dillinger,
Dillinger,
like
yes.
it was very cool.
Yes.
You,
So like
you
I want to talk about that. Like why is that so cool? Why are we drawn to stuff like that? Why is mob wife why do you know immediately when you see someone like that? Like what about it? Um makes us, I don't know, so eager to like, consume it. It's like it's all crime related because we're obsessed with it.
yeah. Do you have any theories? Like, do you think it's because it's taboo? Do you think it's because it's like people like feeling bad even though they aren't bad? Or like, ooh, I can't hear you. No, I lost you. Yeah, yeah. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by coffee. Coffee, drink it out of a Christmas mug, even though it's January, but also brought to you by Duracell. Duracell won't crap out on you in the middle of a podcast, or will it?
How are we? Are we back?
We're
Can you
back.
hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Perfect.
Batteries that die.
Ooh.
Second time today, guys.
Duracell. We should have gotten Energizer.
Should have gotten something else. Okay. Where were we? Oh,
Oh,
why?
no.
Okay. So I
Yeah.
had done a little study on this and we made a magazine. I believe you actually helped me. It was called Wound Culture,
Hmm.
where we explored the idea of why people are obsessed with crime and murder. And basically, it is just because we are, as a society, we view trauma and we like want to be close to it in a way where we can experience it without actually having it done upon us. And this is a much larger subject that we could go deeper
Right.
into of why we do that and why Americans specifically are much more crime obsessed than other countries and why crime happens here much more often than other countries.
Do you think those two are correlated?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It is a repressed nature in a way, but
Yeah.
that's a much more philosophical thing. Philosophical Sundays, everyone. Why are we so wound culture obsessed? That's a question for the audience. Maybe someone will
Yeah.
have something
I
profound.
I certainly am not qualified enough to give an answer on that. But I see it. I mean,
And here's even
you
further, the general theory of crime states that crime is more likely to happen to women than it is for a woman to commit crime. Yet women are 80% more likely to watch crime related content. So my mother, she used
yeah.
to say, like, when I'm sitting there watching 1,000 episodes of Forensic Files back to back. She used to say, "Doesn't it scare you to watch all that murder and crime and all that?" And to be honest, it made me feel better. It made me feel better to recognize that crime happens in patterns, and
Yeah.
it made it easier for me to navigate those patterns. So if I
Right.
stay away from those patterns, I minimize my risk of encountering crime. So I don't know, it was always comforting to me in a way as a self-reflection on why.
I can see that. It's it and I feel like that I've at least heard, you know, don't walk alone at night, don't wear headphones and a hood and like all of these different ideas, and they all come from like forensic files, crime shows. Um, do you think that we were as crime obsessed before? Is it how to make a murder or making a murderer? The Stephen
Yes.
Avery Netflix thing? Because I know that that was a very successful show,
Yeah.
or at least season one was. And then I remember podcasts were a thing, but true crime podcasts weren't necessarily as big. And then a year later, it seemed like I was talking to 5, 10 people who were trying to put me onto this true crime podcast. Like a year
Yeah.
later, it seems like they blew up. I have actor friends who were starting their own true crime podcasts and doing voiceover work for like narrative driven
Oh, cool.
true crime podcasts. It seems like they popped up out of nowhere right around the year and a half after that Netflix documentary aired. Do you think that it was always kind of there and the Netflix documentary helped it find a new medium? Or do you think it kind of awakened it in a whole new generation of people?
Yeah. So the first case that really got crime in front of a camera is the O.J. Simpson case. So before that, trials were not um broadcasted like that. That was the very first time that there were cameras like that being broadcasted nationally across globally probably watching the verdict. So that's like when court TV became a thing
Mhm.
after that case. Um, just the spectatorship of it, I think people got it was like a sport almost. And
Yeah.
like people were, rooting on either side, regardless of like how you feel about that case. But you cannot deny that it was a culturally significant point in our American history because that is when we had access to crime like that. And
Yeah.
when we started like wanting more of it, like, oh, we want that juicy, juicy trial. And like I said, court TV That's their whole network is broadcasting trials.
Hmm.
So from that point, it just got worse and worse, our obsession with it.
Right.
And I do think I agree with you that Serial in particular probably transitioned from visual media to podcasting. Um, and they saw how successful that was. And I agree with you. There's hundreds of thousands of podcasts about true
Yeah.
crime.
They've blown up there. I mean, there's even, you know, Only Murders in the Building. There's a show about making a true crime podcast
Right. And there's
that's also very successful.
ID, channel ID,
Yeah.
whole chan there's
Full
whole channels dedicated
multiple
to.
whole channels. Yeah.
So I don't think that happens elsewhere. Like Japan, they're
This
not making content about crime because one,
no.
they would be talking about American crime. They wouldn't be
Right.
talking about anything else. So, and also there's no need for it because they're probably not consuming it like we are. There's a need
Right.
for it because obviously you see it doesn't matter. I can throw a dart and watch a show and I'm going to watch it because I'm interested in whatever the case is, not
Hmm.
so much the show.
I have a it's funny you mentioned Japan. I have a friend. My last shift was last night, so she's no longer a coworker as of
Oh,
3:30 in the morning.
congratulations,
Um,
I guess.
Thank you. Yes, very valid. It was an awful. It's unfortunate. Little side tangent. It's unfortunate because I really enjoyed the job the first year, and then the second year was just a ever increasingly intense downhill slope into toxic madness.
As jobs
Um,
are,
as jobs are.
as we are trying to
Um,
cultivate other things.
yep. The what she posted a story though about walking around Japan. And she literally said, I could never do this in New York as a woman. And she lives in Astoria, which is not necessarily viewed as a bad neighborhood.
Right.
Like, but it's still New York at night. She's a woman. She's relatively small, which I believe factors into making her an easier target. What people don't know is that she kickboxes and uh,
Good for her.
does martial arts. So, but even then, I mean, I'm not gonna guess her weight or anything, but her up against a 200-pound dude,
No, and
like
that's why there's
it's,
nothing you can do. Like,
yeah,
um, so that's another part of my store is like selling personal safety items and also educating women on,
yeah,
there are certain little moves you can do that will buy you time and get
yeah,
away. And I also, might come as a surprise, but I am an advocate for individual firearm CPLs. Like
yeah,
learning proper gun use is important. We live in
absolutely.
America where you could literally stumble across a gun at any moment. And 9 out of 10 times, if you are in a criminal, you're up against a robber or something, like the perpetrator is likely to have a weapon. So knowing how to navigate that, knowing how to use a weapon, knowing how to not get your weapon taken from you, like these are things that are important because
Yeah,
we live in a world where they're all around you. So
pardon me.
personal safety and taking initiative, because I find a lot of thems and thems are maybe they have their power taken away from them in a way, or they feel not empowered because I find that they diminish their own self. Like they feel like they can't do these things. Like, oh, I can't change my own tire. I gotta call somebody. That's not the case. Like I want to empower them. I want to make them feel like it's not that big of a task to do that
Hmm.
because car trouble is going to cause you to interact with the police if you don't know what you're doing. Because
Right.
if you're on the side of the road and your car is breaking down, like knowing how to get somewhere safe, like because people could pull up on you, offer help, and then overpower you.
Hmm.
And that's not, I'm not saying you need to like be scared of every situation, but like
You need to have your
knowing,
guard up at the
yeah,
very least.
just know. You just
Yeah.
I'm the kind of person that plays out all the scenarios very quickly in my head. And I kind of try to find a middle ground because obviously it's not going to not all the time is it going to be one way or the other. Most of the
Right.
time it's going to be in the middle. So just being prepared for the worst, but hoping for the best. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, um, it's unfortunate that we live in this world where we have to do that. But I think being confident is key. If I feel confident that if I pick up a gun, I know how to take all the bullets out and clear the chamber, make sure everything's good. Well, now I'm not like scared of that situation because I know what to do.
Right.
And that's knowing's half the battle. See, I'll make shirts like that. That said
Yeah.
model citizen.
I, side note, I want the first edition merch. I want
Okay.
whatever the first hoodie or the first t-shirt is. Um, just throwing that
Everything's
out there.
pink. Have you checked out the website, by the way?
I checked out the website when I first asked you to come on this show about 3, 4 weeks ago, and you
Okay.
said, let's talk more about this. This is what I would like to touch on. And I think there were only 3 items in the shop.
Yes,
And
still true.
I think it was a bedazzled mace. Did I see
Oh,
do
they've
am I
changed. They changed.
Oh, okay,
My three
cool.
items
Okay.
are um a hidden camera detector. So
Okay.
if you are in a hotel or changing rooms, or if you're a sex worker, that's another thing we haven't talked about. I really want to empower sex workers to feel safe as well. Um, People who are more likely to interact with the police, like
Right.
and also sex workers are often used as pawns in wrongful conviction cases. So I very much want to um, educate sex workers on their legal rights.
Do you think that's because a lot of people look down on that line of work and it's easy to question their character and dismiss them as just
No,
like dismiss them as kind I don't know. Go ahead.
maybe from a juror's point of view, but from the police's point of view, they are the easiest people to manipulate because they have the most to lose. Um, for example, I can name probably 5 off the top of my head cases that I have worked with where a sex worker was the main witness and they ended up being coerced or threatened by the police to make a statement about my client. So what happens is sex worker will have kids and the police will say, you better give me a name of the person that you saw leaving this building, or I'm going to call CPS and tell them that you are a sex worker. But what I want sex workers to know is that that is against the law.
Yeah.
Police are not allowed to threaten CPS ever. So if you hear those words coming out of their mouth, call a lawyer.
Right.
If the
But
police are knocking
also,
on your door and you're a sex worker, for anything,
yeah.
did you see something? Let me call my lawyer.
Yeah.
And if you
Um,
don't have one, like I have a resource page of like where to find one
right.
who works with sex workers because that is I can't tell you how many women I have who were scared to lose their kids
Of course.
and they
That's
just say whatever the police tell them to say. And then my client has lost 20 years of their life. So just knowing off the get, if a police officer, they can't just say whatever they want. They are not allowed to bring up CPS ever, unless CPS called them to do a wellness check.
right.
If they're there to talk to you about being a witness to a crime, they cannot say anything to you about CPS. If they wanted to, they can obviously get in touch with CPS if there was
Right.
something that needed to be done.
But they're not
But
allowed to use it as a threat to coerce you
exactly.
into, yeah.
Right. If a lawyer was standing next to the police officer, they would say, you're not allowed to do that. So that's why they try to get you without a lawyer. I can't, there's a fun game I play when I'm watching anything fictional and there's an interrogation scene, whether in the film I'm supposed to be on the criminal side or the police side,
Hmm.
I always go like, how long would I let this conversation go on without calling a lawyer? And it's usually not long.
It's
But like
usually
the
not long.
scene goes
Yeah.
on forever, right? Like, why isn't the Joker calling somebody in the Dark Knight Rises?
The Joker
Where's my
never had a
lawyer?
lawyer.
You're just letting
I'm
this bat beat me up?
he It's like the police are working with this masked like guy dressed as a bat, and I'm somehow the bad guy.
Yes,
Uh,
exactly.
in the Dark Knight, he literally slams his forehead on the table. It's like, all right, so looks through the double-sided glass. I'm like, we're
This
gonna
confession
allow this?
is inadmissible in court.
Yeah. It's like I'm walking and it's your fault.
Exactly.
Uh, that's funny. And
Yeah.
also sad.
Right. So,
I
stay tuned for
Yeah.
podcasts where I watch things and I go, call a lawyer,
Yeah.
call a lawyer, call a lawyer.
There's 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 a TikTok, there's dozens of TikTok accounts like this, but there's one that I watch where it's like, hi, this is so and so, and I'm going to talk until they add a full block of cream cheese to this crock pot recipe. And it's like, all right, so we're gonna add beans. And then he's like, okay, so in today's news, there's the cream cheese. And then it's just, it's funny. I don't know why all these crock pot recipes call for a full block of cream cheese, but I can see you doing something like that. It's like, all right, so we're going to watch this interrogation and I'm going to
And there we go.
stop when they should have called a lawyer. And he threatened CPS, I would call a lawyer. Bam, done.
Like literally the second they walk into the room, call a lawyer.
The second they walk into the room. And so
And mostly, I
that's,
mean, that's the way it should be. Like to play
yeah,
the game fun, I'll let the conversation go on a long time.
right.
But theoretically, it should be the second you sit down.
Yeah.
The
I mean,
second they're at your door,
you
I gotta
said a
call
very,
somebody.
you said a specific, like you said, sex worker and threatening CPS, but also at the same time, you should never be talking to a cop without a lawyer.
Absolutely.
If you get pulled over, I've seen the blanket response, I don't answer questions because you're
Yeah,
not obligated to answer questions. You're
you're
not
not
obligated to incriminate yourself further.
sure.
Um,
But also keep in mind the situation. If they're
right.
pulling you over because you were speeding, like don't be a dick.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
that's
I
not
mean,
gonna work for you.
if you were going 95 in a 35 and he's like, all right, what are we doing? He's like, oh, I don't answer questions.
Yeah. Oh,
Like
yeah.
take the ticket. Well, 95 and a 35, they'd probably
Throw you in
arrest you
jail.
because that's
Probably
like
go to jail.
that's way reckless. That's way
Reckless
past reckless
driving.
endangerment. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
So, but if you
but
feel
like
like the situation is escalating and now I shouldn't be asking any or
right.
answering any questions, then yeah.
Yeah. I
But,
did
they're
see,
knocking on your door and they're saying, a murder happened next door.
yeah.
Did you hear anything? Or do you know this person? And you do.
Yeah.
It's a good just bounce, I'm gonna
Right.
call my lawyer.
Yeah. The
Whether you're guilty or not, like literally.
oh yeah, no, because
I mean,
wrongful
I
convictions
know
happen.
wrongful
Like,
convictions happen, but also if you are guilty, call a lawyer. Don't
yeah,
talk to anybody.
no. I saw a piece of news and I believe it was California. I might be wrong. Someone can fact check me if they want. In California, officers are no longer allowed to walk up to your vehicle and ask you, do you know why I pulled you over? They have to actually walk up and be like, so I pulled you over because let's say your tail lights out and they didn't have like a radar gun on you and you didn't know your tail light was out, but you were going a little fast. It's like, do you know why I pulled you over? It's like, yeah, I think I was going over the speed limit. Now he or she might not have known you were going over the
Right now
speed limit.
you've committed 2 crimes.
Yeah. And you've admitted to one on body cam.
Exactly.
And
That's a good
it's like,
point. So to answer your other question about what can you do to minimize, I was always told when they do ask you that question, no, I don't know why you pulled me
yeah,
over. Please tell me.
I'm a model citizen. I have no idea.
I am a model citizen
Yeah.
because yeah,
Yeah.
I never do anything wrong.
Never.
Yes. See, and also I didn't know I was recently pulled over because my headlight was cracked and the white light was shining through, and I didn't know that
Oh wow.
was against the law. And he informed me that it was. So I had to get that fixed. So just, yeah, making sure
Yeah.
you know how to fix things on your car because you're more likely to get pulled over if you got dents and bumps and
Yeah.
your headlights are out or your tail lights are cracked. You can't see your license plate. You're making yourself a target to be pulled over. So
Absolutely.
things like that.
Not to blow up my mom's spot, but in
Yeah.
Michigan,
Sorry,
in
mom.
Michigan, in Michigan, we get a lot of snow, and there have definitely been times. I don't know what the statute of limitations is, but this happened 6 months before that, whenever, and she would let the snow accumulate in front of her license plate to cover the
Mm.
expired license plate tabs in
Yeah.
the winter.
Yeah. Well, they're gonna pull you over probably.
She never got pulled over for it.
Well,
That's not
what county do
advice,
you live in?
Macomb. Yeah. Don't try it in Wayne County. They're-
A white woman driving around.
yeah. Bad story. I'm gonna cut that one out.
No, I mean, you have to be aware. Like
Yeah.
I walk through life, I know that I am less likely to be pulled over than a male. I'm less likely to be pulled over than a black woman. I'm less likely to be pulled over than a black man. I just know
Mhm.
this. And that is on the police's responsibility to fix. I am not going to ever tell someone to diminish who they are
Right.
to try to be unseen by the police. No,
Right.
that is their responsibility to not be racist, sexist, or otherwise. So
Yeah. But also be aware if you are in any of
I'm
those categories, like be aware, like you're more likely to be pulled over. Know this, know this, know this for when that
absolutely,
interaction comes up.
yeah, yeah. And to even go back, you're gonna have to do a lot of editing now. To my mother asking me if I was scared watching true crime stuff. I, I'm not scared. What scares me is that my friends could be wrongfully convicted.
Hmm.
That I have black men that have had horrible experiences with the police. Like that scares me that my friends are in danger more than me being in danger, even though like crime is more likely to be perpetrated against me.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. Wrongful convictions are just so heinous to me that I couldn't not do anything.
Yeah. And even if someone's not convicted, it's a traumatic experience. Like if you walk away, if you make it home that night, but you still had a gun pointed at you, or like I don't know if you ever have. I have had an officer point a gun at me. I
Hmm.
think I had two or three. Like I I was just, they thought I was someone else, and so they guns and then handcuffed and then they ID'd me and let me go because it turns out I didn't rob the liquor store 5 blocks away.
No, doesn't sound like
No,
you.
no, but you're shaken for some time after that, and
You probably have PTSD from that. That's horrible.
yeah, absolutely, because there's a little bit of what if the officer was just a little more scared? What if they were just a little more caffeinated, a
Yeah.
little less careful?
Yeah.
Um, and he said that to me. He was like, "Dude, you were in the wrong place at the wrong time. You're lucky that." And I'm like, "Thank
Thanks,
you.
officer.
Yeah, thanks
Protect and
for
serve.
yeah, thanks for not shooting me even though I did nothing wrong.
A
Like, I don't
civilian.
know. Um,
But really, they shouldn't be shooting anyone unless they
no.
are themselves are in direct danger.
Yeah. I just
So, like, their
but like
response to shoot you off the get was,
yeah.
in my
And like
opinion, that's not the way you de-escalate a situation. Yeah.
no. And like I not that it matters, but like as soon as I saw lights, I assumed cops, and so hands up. But it's like you're gonna tell me I was lucky for not being shot with my hands up in the air? Like
Yeah,
I don't know.
absolutely.
It that
I've
was that was a
seen,
weird comment to
yeah,
hear from a officer.
whose job it is to protect you. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's weird.
Mm-hmm.
And like, why were they so aggro when they have like 10 of them coming up on you? Yes, you could have had a weapon, but was that necessary?
No,
What
it
was the
wasn't.
situation? Where were you? You were walking in somewhere?
I was on the roof of my building in Harlem.
And they came in how? They came up the,
They were busted in the door on the roof.
oh wow.
Yeah.
It was like a SWAT team, eh?
It definitely had SWAT vibes, but it was just a bunch of
Just officers,
uniformed
yeah.
officers. Yeah. Um,
Interesting. That's crazy.
yeah,
Must have really looked like the guy.
I guess. I don't know. I didn't
Witness
I didn't
misidentification.
I didn't follow up. I mean, they took my name and
You didn't
number
follow up.
for
You're like, I gotta get out of
I
here.
no. Uh no, I was like, I don't want to think about this ever again.
Ever again.
And here I am 8 years later broadcasting it, putting it on the record. And when I make it into movies, Kimmel is going to ask me about it on the air one day.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to know that I don't know you to be someone who dabbles in crime. I don't know you to be someone who dabbles in anything nefarious. Maybe you are an actor. Never trust an
With
actor.
fingernails like that, I need long nails if I'm going to be
I'm
nefarious.
missing mine today too. I can't be clacking all over here, but
You knew we were doing this today.
I
What's with the
know.
lack of preparation?
Look, it takes like 5 hours to get these babies done, okay?
Yeah.
It took us 40
They
minutes to set it up, so
I know. They always look great though. Your nails
thank
are always
you.
on point.
The next time they will be done and I will be broadcasting model citizen vibes everywhere, so
Deal.
so but yes, I think it's good to share that story because like I said, you're not someone who's crime adjacent, you're not around that lifestyle, so just to remind people that it can happen to
Yeah,
you. I
can happen to
hate
anyone.
reminding people, but like if you knew how often wrongful convictions happen and how easily they happen, like it's not even surprising to me anymore when I hear a story, like other people's jaws are on the ground and I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right. Let me get to work.
Yeah. Yeah, the sounds about right is probably the most heartbreaking part about it. It's
Yes, that and like that we don't even like Bill and I don't even have reactions to the stories we hear anymore. That's kind of what I've noticed over the time. Like I used to be
yeah,
so outraged, and I know I was younger. It's been like 8 years, but over time I'm not even outraged anymore. I'm like, yep, this is it.
yeah,
Like we gotta fight this one just like we fight all the other ones.
yeah.
So it's kind of crazy.
Okay, we've got maybe 4 or 5 more minutes. Is
Yeah.
there anything that we didn't touch on that you want to get out there for the people to know about either model citizen or keeping themselves safe?
Um, no, I did want to mention that the name came where the name came from though. So
Yeah.
do you like want to prompt the question or do you just want me to go off the riff?
Hey, Shelby,
Hey, what?
you're launching Model Citizen P.I. It's a
Yes.
unique name. By chance,
Yes.
where did it come from?
So the name actually came from people asking me if I ever did any modeling. Um, and I would say, no, I'm not a model. I'm a model citizen. And here's how you can be one too. And then I would tell them about my private investigation work. So, as you see from my pages, I do dabble in the arts. I love modeling. I take uh, aesthetics very seriously. And I want that to carry over into the brand as well, because how we view things and how things look um, determines how we engage with the content. So I want to make
Yes.
it aesthetically pleasing.
Hmm.
And the tagline is stay safe, stay sexy, and seek justice. So
Which has been,
my
I don't know if
personal
it
motto.
would, yeah, like I've heard that like tagline for years now.
Yeah.
And I'm so thrilled that you are turning it into something that I know is just gonna blow up and be super successful because you are smart, you're passionate and driven about this because you care. And I don't know, you've been working at it for so long and now it's finally taking this shape in this new business. It's gonna be great. And
Thank you.
I can't wait. I'm so glad that I get to be here in the beginning of it.
Yes, I'm like
And
so excited. This is like the first time I get to talk to someone about it, and like the fact that you gave me a platform to like even to tell your 10 fans.
yeah,
Um,
It's going to be
It's
12. Thanks.
exciting.
Yep.
It's going to be 12 and
It's going
15
to be 12.
soon, but
Yep. 10
it's
of
so
mine.
exciting.
And then whoever you get to bring in and whoever wants to watch. And then
Absolutely.
as it evolves, like you're the first person I'm having on via Zoom because I realized how limiting it is trying to get people into this space, like on a personal level, you being in Michigan, me being in New York. But I would love to have you on as often as you'd like to continue to talk about.
Yeah,
I don't know if you'd be allowed to talk about ongoing cases or
we can.
anything. Um, and then like developments with the business. I would
Yes.
love to have you
And it
on.
gives me an excuse to come to New York, and then I can actually be
Yes.
in the studio.
That will be very exciting.
And I can
People
actually
will
wear the
watch.
headphones.
You can actually, I've got a headphone set for
There you
you
go.
and your own
Perfect.
microphone right there. And then that's me right there.
Good.
And then we can actually split a bottle in person.
And you can get the full fit
Oh,
on
yeah.
camera.
The nails will be